So then we are back with more understandings from the Renewed Covenant, from the Aramaic English translation of the word. And the topic that Mashiach would want to speak these days would be, what is the true place where they can find His presence? As we can understand from the Renewed Covenant, from the Aramaic English, those places are the tabernacles. So these days they are not very popular yet because most of the world is living in deceit, and it's truly going to take some time for the people of having the proper understanding that what they did ever since they were children, it was not properly taught, and then it was simply a lie. So then, from the viewpoint of the Messiah, he then spoke, he taught 490 days, and these amounts of 11,760 hours of ministry. And truly it is important, speaking of, because at least the people, they have a chance of understanding the truth. If what they do afterwards then is not truth, then it's their choice, but the truth then is spoken. So the Messiah, while he was in the earth, he gave directions of his people that they would go around the world and they would form holy lands and they would set up tabernacles in them. And this is where his presence then would be found. So truly these days, because of the deceit, people are teaching nearly areas that do not exist, and it's going to take some time for them to be retaught the areas of true presence of Elohim, and then their relationship with the Creator, because so far they don't have any. There are some camps around, but those are very, very, very few, and most of the world, they have no knowledge of them. So then, it's always coming with a price, and then Yehuda, in the Renewed Covenant, he was then taking pains because of these. Because every time the truth is spoken, the person is speaking the truth, most of the time is involved with holding back the evils, and most often is held back in the flesh. And then Yehuda was experiencing also pains, so he would then explain the truth to the people, so for them then taking some responsibility themselves. Because it's very easy for a person only to enjoy the benefits of the truth, but not being wanting, being part of it, and taking the pains themselves. Obviously, staying on the lie, at the end, it won't be very profitable either. That's why the Messiah said, pick up your own stick and then come after me. That's what he said. So then when he was speaking, Yehuda was giving directives also. He was then a set-apart person, and as you can read, he was explaining areas of reminding the people of their duties. He explains also a bit of the Gentiles, and he gives some directives for the Gentiles not to be mixed with them without being invited. And then he explains why, because then the scandalized grace was then mixed up with their own beliefs. And then he explains why, and then he was encouraging them to continue on with their duties as they were on their way to form another holy land. That's why Egypt then is mentioned, with the understanding of those that came out of, and they were on their way to set up a holy land. So then these days that people are so blind in terms of the real truth, they don't have a clue, because they believe the fact that the Messiah came to abolish the Torah rather than completing it. And when they think of the completion, they think the completion of the entire Torah. So it's truly not true what they are thinking and what they are doing, because what they teach to their children, it's absolutely nonsense. Based upon the original manuscript, the original scripts, they don't teach what they teach these days, because they teach the truth. The original manuscripts are the very portions where then the believer can understand the tabernacles. Without the tabernacles in the second service, there is no place where Gentiles can gather. So then the question is, what would be the world then without churches? It would be very interesting. Very interesting place, because then the Messiah would be more known as he was known back then. And these crazy understandings of a Savior wandering from the tabernacles would be then at least limited, because there is no Savior wandering from the tabernacles. And it would be very interesting also the limitation that would be provided upon many of these congregations, because they say, oh, God told me this, God told me that, and God told me the other, and come on, God is only found in His holy tabernacles. So whatsoever people are talking and God spoke and said this and that, the other, it's not true. So then truly takes some time and tender care of explaining these areas, so then people can prepare themselves. It can be part of the true kingdom to come government. And please stay tuned, much more coming up, because then the Torah is going to be explained, what it means and what it should be at. Please stay tuned.